Here in New York City, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're following this lunchtime power panel out there on the World Wide Web. Here we are, it's day 4, final day of 8th Cloud Expo New York. So what better time, methought, than to have 5 sages, except they're marketing sages. And it occurs to me that we're all here at Cloud Expo partly because these guys, and in this case, one lady, have lured us to the cloud. So it's our turn, of course, to roast them over the spit of reality and see whether this whole cloud thing measures up to everything they've told us. So let's find out who we're listening to this lunchtime, starting with you, Peder.
Sure. So my name is Peder Ulander. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Cloud.com. We provide an open source software platform that enables anybody with a data center to build their own cloud. So service providers who want to compete with Amazon, or data center operators, IT guys who want to run their data center with cloudy operations.
And Jeff.
How's it going? My name is Jeff Samuels. I'm Chief Marketing Officer for GoGrid. GoGrid's a leading infrastructure as a service company. We launched in 2007 as one of the first public clouds. Since then, we've evolved our products to serve thousands of customers around the world, various use cases, and moved even into a hosted private clouds as well. So really looking forward to this conversation and dispelling myths about marketers.
Optimism. I like that. Josh, we'll soon knock it out of you, don't we?
Hi, everyone. I guess I'm the odd man out here because I'm technically not a CMO. I'm Vice President of Business Development for RightScale. RightScale is a cloud management system. We automate and provide a variety of management tools for various different clouds, public and private, including Cloud.com. So,
Julia.
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm the marketing manager for Oxygen Cloud. Hope you guys all enjoyed the bright fuchsia lanyards on this expo. Oxygen is a secure cloud storage solution for businesses, and we're here, very excited to be here.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Roth.
My name is Bill Roth, and I'm Chief Marketing Officer of LogLogic. We're a provider of IT data management infrastructure. One of the things we help to do is help to provide a little bit more visibility to your cloud operations, deployed both as appliances in a virtualized fashion and also through our partners who provide us as a cloud offering.
All right, so marketeers and business development, I don't think you need to exclude yourself, you know, Josh. It's a clever trick, but you've got just as much responsibility for us all being here. So the first and most obvious question is, I suppose you should give it a 1 to 5 scale. How much do you regret the extraordinary success that you've had? Anybody thinking this went too fast? We've been caught out. My company didn't have anything. I've got them to market way too early. Of course, you're not going to confess this, so I better not ask that. Instead, I'm going to ask Peder to explain to us how he comes by the name Cloud.com over and above everyone else on the panel. And I happen to know the answer, and you guys are going to just rue the day that you didn't do what he did. So explain, Peder. Cloud.com is yours. How?
Okay, so it's a good story. About a year and a half ago, I joined a company called VMOps, and one of the...
VMOps, catchy.
Yeah,
VMOps.
very catchy.
Yeah.
Very associated with the cloud.
Trips off the tongue.
Yeah, we have shirts that said it's VMOps because we couldn't find a better name. So I joined a small company called VMOps. It literally was coming at a time when everybody was talking about clouds. We were building infrastructure for cloud providers at the time, and everywhere we went, we kept getting the same thing. Are you guys VMware, partners of VMware? What do you do with VMware tools and automation? So I recognized that we had to change the name.
We had a problem.
We did. And at the time that we were looking to change the name, there literally were no names available for cloud computing companies. I mean, there was cloud this, cloud that. And sure enough, we came across the fact that cloud.com was a domain that wasn't taking. In fact, I searched the web, and it was a 404 error. And upon further research,
it
wasn't being used. It was owned. It wasn't being used. But so I did some basic research, and I found Jeremy's blog, and he talked a little bit about a gentleman by the name of Scott who had worked with the Cloud Expo guys to sell this domain. Reached out to Scott, and working through the Cloud Expo folks, we were able to come to the agreement of purchasing the name. And about a year ago, or I guess a year ago May, we launched the company under the new moniker, new products, and been kind of running fast ever since.
So repeat after me. I will in future read Jeremy's blog and get a better domain name for myself.
Is VMOps for sale?
Sure. We'll get you the T-shirt too.
Get it cheap.
All right, so that is how you get an extremely good brand name. Now, the question is, it is actually a branding question because that's what you're all good at. How much of a role, Jeffrey, does branding play in the success of, say, a company like GoGrid? Does it really matter, or can you be invisible?
No, I think it matters, especially while, and I'm not going to turn this into a cloud definition panel.
Thank you.
But
You don't want to go there?
I mean, it's just, don't want to go there right now, but I think it is important to really articulate in your branding, in your messaging, not only who you are and what you represent, your core value propositions of being an innovator or operational efficiency or whatever not, but it's like, what problems are you solving for your customers? And that's got to be part of your brand. Especially marketing has changed so much, I think mostly for the better over the past 3 years, and it's with the digital marketing being a department now. And I think by embracing that and driving market adoption quickly, you really have to have a crisp, clean identity. And make sure when you get in front of said decision maker, it's very clear of what your value proposition is, how you're going to attack it, and where you fit in the cloud world. I think that's really, really important because you're looking across here. We're all in the cloud business, but I don't see any competition up here. Really, not even the hackneyed co-opetition or however they use that. So
Crisp definition. What about you, Bill? Crisp definition, LogLogic, you got that nailed?
So, first of all, I want to go back to your question because at the risk of being somewhat Jesuitical,
oh my goodness.
I actually want to disagree with one of the fundamental premises of your question.
You would not be the first.
Right. So we are all companies, I assume, and I will pledge to a lot of ignorance to some of this, that we're all relatively small, probably below $200 million. I would contend that none of what we do is branding. I think what we do is rather awareness. Branding is the ability to get a single word in your brain, so Coca-Cola refreshes and so on. And none of us are at that stage, with the exception of the super find on the URL by His Eminence, the great Peder Ulander. Two other points to say this. I think what's amazing is that this is following a tradition much like Java in that it's got more legs. This isn't just a SOA blip or something. So I think that there's something here because, as I'm surprised, we actually have better traffic than the last one and better traffic than the one before. So there's something here. People are paying attention, and there's good traffic. So some people may have been out early. Maybe VMOps as the unit was out early, but I think generally we're making, I think there's probably a responsible approach to the market.
Josh, what do you make of all of this? These marketeers that you refuse to identify with.
It's nice to be able to talk with little accountability, right?
That's right.
From a RightScale standpoint, and my own personal take on this is, we spent, and it worked quite well, a lot of time basically with shamelessly promoting our brand on a T-shirt, going to far corners of the world, talking about pretty simple. Also,
kind of works because
also
you are
pretty cheap.
everywhere.
Also pretty cheap. But the key was we went there and would really talk to anyone who would listen to us about what people were actually doing in the cloud. There's a tremendous amount of clutter out there. There was back then. There still is now. But we found by simply having a name and then having a story to tell about anything that was actually being done today and what the results were, had great residual effects. So we were able to create quite a bit of groundswell and create really a brand that I think arguably was much larger and still is than certainly RightScale. And then we took that into all different types of offshoots, including probably the most extreme case is there's a wrapped van driving around the streets of Tokyo that says cloud computing delivered and RightScale on the side, and it's actually a meeting room too, so we take meetings in that. And anyone that's in Tokyo and meeting with someone in a van that's wrapped with RightScale, it's probably not going to be an easy event to forget, so that's worked quite well.
Julia, how important is color in branding? I got a lot of trouble this whole,
So a lot of people thought that was my idea, but I think it was actually, we agreed it as a company together because a lot of cloud companies, new cloud companies, services, products, they're all blue. Okay, Everyone is blue.
Oh.
And the bright fuchsia works really well in a corporate setting.
So that's just
because
bright
you can't,
fuchsia. Oh
yes.
my God, bright fuchsia.
Yes.
Okay.
You just can't miss this. But ultimately, I think I would agree with Jeff. A lot of things what we do is we want to raise awareness. We want people to understand the value proposition we're bringing, what the solution is doing, what problem like the product is solving. But in my point of view, like branding ultimately is what users, customers are going to say about what they think of the product, of the company, of the service. Like, we can try our best to define it, but ultimately it's what the community says of what your company represents.
Well, that leads us to the next question, Julia, very nicely, which is the intersection of cloud computing and the blogosphere. I know Bill's the demon blogger. Now, let me put it to you. I am guessing, perhaps the audience will knock this down, but I'm guessing that the blogosphere is still considered kind of vendor neutral. I know there are vendor bloggers out there, but they're known as vendor bloggers, so that's transparent. So assuming that the clouderati is a kind of neutral, amorphous body, how much of a role has that played in all of this? Because they do seem to be very noisy and obviously in favor of cloud computing. Has that helped? Who would like to take that? Has it been a driver?
I think it absolutely has been. It's where it's another place to take your brand. It's another take your the conversations. It's the development of communities and the ability to access those communities. And I think any company today and where they're delivering services to the IT community and decision makers are increasingly finding answers and discriminating answers. I mean, there obviously is a lot of blowhards out there. No one in here. No one in here.
No.
But I mean, it's important to engage customers and be able to, in a non-obnoxious way, provide answers. So we have, and I know other people on this panel do as well, go out and engage with use cases and discussions and find out what our customers want. Because when you send out a survey, I mean, you get mixed results, and this is another way of accessing both current customers, which is great to see, and also prospective customers.
How good was AWS during that outage of informing the Twitter sphere? I don't actually know the answer to that, so I don't know if anyone does. Were they out there? Were they saying what was going on and why? Anyone know that? How good was Amazon during those 5 days?
It depends on who you
Must
ask.
have had a tweet or two, surely. All right,
Sure.
well, tell me afterwards. I'd like to know. But it is a factor.
Yeah.
Bill?
So the point about the blogosphere is it's interesting. We're in a couple of different markets, and because we deal with security, there's a whole set of crazies on the kind of security blogging, and of course I mean that, as Michael Jackson says, with love. But what's really interesting is the ferocity of what I noticed with cloud. It's generally relatively well behaved,
Right.
but there are a lot of people with strong opinions and a lot of energy and time to deliver their opinions. And so if we get a mention on the security side, because why do we blog? Blogging is all about generating traffic. I want links back, I want referral traffic to my website. So, which is why, of course, we're big fans of SYS-CON. So the point is, that was shameless, by the way.
That was shameless.
Yes, thank you.
I'm just
But that's why, the security, we will see noticeable spikes. With cloud, less so. Because there seems to be a more vibrant, in the security community, a heck of a lot more arguing.
Yeah, ferocity was a good word.
Yeah.
But ferocity on Twitter isn't to any gain to the ferocious tweeter. So that puzzles me sometimes. Why does vehemence work so well on Twitter?
It actually can backfire, and you've got to be particularly careful. We've been sort of testing out different tones on our blog, and if you do get a little bit aggressive, and you do get a little bit, and certainly with the security side, they can come back, and it can cause a bit of a storm.
Come back and bite you.
Now, all that storm, what does that do? It generates traffic. So, you could decide whether that's a good thing or bad thing, and whether you're going to be controversial or not. And so
Cloud.com has a community manager, no less.
We do.
So that's something that's acknowledging social media is very important.
Well, so the big thing is it is about the communication and the conversation, right? The reality is, sure, we can say cloud computing has been around for ages, starting back, whether it was 99 with Salesforce or further, beyond that with the application service providers. The reality is today there are so many different variations of cloud computing and different types of solutions that we're all learning together. And we just completed a survey that we started distributing here at the beginning of the show that basically said that, sure, security is an inhibitor, and data protection is an inhibitor, but the top two inhibitors for cloud computing in general are understanding and information, right? And I think there's a lot of enterprises out there that they want to see best practices. They want to learn from the people that are doing this stuff, and the blogosphere or community engagement gets your guys directly engaged with the people that are building this stuff. It isn't the marketing side of things. It is actually engineers or technical implementers. It is some of our customers. And we actually have found that by raising the voice of our customer to tell our story for us, that has generated more traffic, more business, more success for us in general. And it just, at the point that someone comes to our door knocking for information, they're already well versed. It just transforms the entire sales process at that point.
Julia, I know your CEO, Peter Chang, only he is sending a tweet every second. Is that working for you? It bears the bright fuchsia logo, so I can see it's already doing a job there, just there. It shouts out at people. They're always amusing, they're short. Is it working for you?
Definitely, it works. I've actually been to other events where we have people approach us and be like, oh, we recognize you just because from Twitter, I think I follow you, and then we actually get to have a very meaningful conversation. You build a relationship. You actually get to talk to people because we are a lot more active on Twitter. We try to recommend it to everyone in the company. We want to be transparent. We encourage our product managers to blog for us because they have a different perspective, right? They're working on the product. They spend so much time working with the engineers, and at the same time, we want to give them the opportunity to engage the market and understand what people are looking for. So we want to provide all the different angles, different perspective on what we're working on. So when people come to our website, not only do you understand the basics of, okay, here are all the features, but you can read and understand what is the thinking behind what we're working on, why we're doing things a certain way, because we're trying to define saying you should use this cloud way. It's a new way of doing things, new way for you to run your business. And for them to understand and the real benefits behind it, we want to give them more information.
And do you coordinate it, constrain it in any way, or you just let it free?
We try not to place too many constraints. Honestly, it's as long as nobody says anything inappropriate, we encourage creativity. We encourage thinking outside the box. Kind of just be who you are and represent the company, because ultimately we're all working so hard. And Peter's favorite saying is, he always likes to quote, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears anything, then why does it matter? So if we're going to create a product and no one can see what you're doing, no one can understand why you're doing it, then what's the point?
Hold that thought for a moment. This is the blogging, tweeting thought. At the bookends of this panel are two former Sunites. Mm-hmm. Now, you had at one point more blogs than any other company. Mm-hmm. Done quite free form, I always understood, unconstrained, Jonathan leading from the front, as it were. And yet, look what happened to Sun. So, was that too early? Did Sun go social media just too early? I mean, this is 5 years ago already.
I don't know if they went too early. In fact, I think they did transparency right. They obviously had trouble with actual business. As a former shareholder, I'm still a little steamed on that. I mean, look, for our social media, I'm in a B2B market, and I'm not sure that social media is all that important. That said, of course, I try to tweet several times a day, and we're always looking at our feed. So it's sort of a mixed bag. You've got to pay attention.
Were you involved in any of that, Peter?
No, absolutely. I was responsible for my own blogs and encouraged all of my staff to do so as well. I think I go back to Bill's point. The issue wasn't around marketing or social media. I think the company had a great position and very loyal followers. It was a business execution problem. And that's where I think it kind of fell down, right? Great marketing doesn't mean you get to keep the company going and drive great business over long term. You have to continue to innovate, deliver, and execute on a business and product strategy.
But great businesses are born from marketing. No. Let me just add, from a blogging perspective, we have a story recently. Our CEO, John Kagi, recently, I've convinced him to go out and blog, and he's a very outspoken guy. He says what's on his mind. If anyone's ever met him, really brilliant guy from a pioneering perspective. And what it's allowed him to do is take the questions that are on his mind or what he's thinking and really direct it. It's not about GoGrid, it's about the industry. And I think the point you made about it doesn't surprise me that security is so much more focused. It's because of the cloud, like we started this conversation on. It's so much to so many people, and like we got to really narrow the conversation. And his first blog was, which got tremendous traffic, is right after the Amazon outage. He wrote in a very sincere way why Amazon's great,
yes,
and went forward on that, and that brought a focused communication on, and obviously we got some dissenters on that and things like that, but and since then he's trying to push the envelope of the conversation. That's all important to GoGrid, but not necessarily on whether they're going to become a GoGrid customer. So.
Now I have to confess, just don't take this personally. So just close your ears. But a lot of people said to me internally, "Why would you have a panel with CMOs and expect anybody to want to come?" Well, now then, I rest my case. But I've got a theory as to why, so I'm going to try it on you. I think, now you lock your ears, I think they're here because this is the first damn tech wave that you didn't invent. They invented it,
right.
And the name just seems to have sort of come from heaven or somewhere or other, so you don't actually dare any credit at all.
Maybe
this enormous success story. Now, does that resonate with you? You haven't done a thing. You've just ridden the coattails of the biggest thing since the invention of the web, and you're all sitting there saying, yep.
Maybe they thought we were going to give them great swag when we leave here.
You're all frauds.
Sure, that may be true, but if you think about it, let's go back and not to disparage the recently departed son, my former employer, but I mean they had a number of initiatives like N1 where they actually launched it several times. The first launch didn't catch, so they do it again. And so I think that this has been in the works for quite a while. And the notion of distributed computing is by no means new. So I think the marketing person is responsible for coming up with the terrible term cloud that conflates virtualization and putting stuff on the web and attaching stuff to a network. That's, I think, the sort of war crime there.
But the paradigm has shifted. I think you pointed. I mean, at least marketing organizations that I've been in the past 5 years or seen. I mean, marketing and like in GoGrid, product management also sits with marketing, which I think is important because of what you just said there. It's marketing is out there talking, like the communication with our customers, the prospects, bringing it in and then developing what we're hearing. And passing that down through the engineering life cycle, so then it comes back and it's full circle, and then you can say, is this working? And I think that is a response to how this revolution was brought from the users.
I think also it's at least what we see is that this is an extremely iterative process, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's not these wholesale migrations that are taking place yet. I mean, maybe in a couple of years from now we'll start to see that. But in a way, the job starts when the initial consumption starts, mm-hmm. right? And there's a lot of process and a lot of effort that goes into helping customers understand what they've done, why it matters, and then how to help them push that internally, right? I think we're at the point now where hopefully it's not being disputed too heavily anymore in each of your minds. So we certainly don't feel it is that, is this real? Is this going to be the new way of doing things? But the fact of the matter is when you look at this as the overall percentage of IT spend and the percentage of workloads that have moved to cloud-based architectures, it's very, very early. Yeah. So this is all about a game of, hey, what does this mean to your business? How to start mapping this out, taking what you've learned with that first deployment. And it's just kind of changing the emphasis of what the marketing focus is all about. Right. I don't think it's any less relevant, though.
Is there a possibility that, because we do seem to we're not having so much, wordmanship this time round because, the word is there and you can innovate under it. Is there a possibility, particularly now after this Cloud Expo, and we're saying this is an inflection point, that we'll see from you guys use cases, that you'll use that as the driver so that nobody is worried anymore? Thank you, in fact, for being marketeers, because you're bringing in front some really good use cases. So we'll have another CMO panel, even more packed, where people say, those guys have really come around now. They don't just, exhort, they're trying to inform us. That would speak to your point of the information is...
It's all about information.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, so while the top level word might not have been altered in many different ways. There's a lot of wordsmithing underneath. There's infrastructure as a service, software as a service, IT as a service, X as a service, whatever you want. There's so many different ways.
Don't
exactly.
forget mainframe 2.0.
Exactly. Yeah, no. So there definitely is a lot of that. And I think as marketers, what we have to do is actually become more consultative in how we're communicating our products and our successes. It's not about a feature set or a bunch of widgets. This is about use cases, customer examples, and ultimately enabling our customers to be successful when they go do a real deployment. Because there is actually a journey from I want to be in the cloud to I'm operating and running in the cloud. And you need, as marketers, to be, as well as biz dev, to walk people through that journey in a way that's going to make them successful, right? I think James Staten said it that everyone will try a private cloud this year and everyone will fail, right? Because it's not easy. So our jobs is to make it as easy as possible and as successful as possible.
Well, we're beginning to run out of time, but not quite. We've just got time to put you through Jeremy's marketing and business development test. And this is a terribly simple test which involves complete silence from the room, complete silence from the other members of the panel, while Bill, who's starting this exercise, is going to shamelessly plug LogLogic in the light of this new sense of information and warmth and embracing of the audience, and without in any way at all pissing them off. So, you've got a minute. LogLogic. Go.
LogLogic is the IT data management company. And what we mean by that is that everything connected to a network, everything with a digital heartbeat, has some kind of diagnostic data. You used to call them log files. We're really good at collecting lots of them, allowing you to report on them, allowing you to alert off them, allowing you to be compliant on various things. How does this relate to the cloud? The fact of the matter is, as I posed in my talk yesterday, what good is the cloud if you can't see through it? And I think Amazon and Sony have sort of proven that. We need to be demanding more from our cloud providers. We need to be demanding that they give us that data that shows what's actually going on. If I vMotion from one place to another, that's going to be really critical. So my message is one of sort of the Black Panther power fist saying demand your logs. If you're using a cloud vendor, make sure you get that diagnostic data, because in some cases, especially if you're dealing with regulations like PCI and if you deal with credit cards or healthcare data, it's actually, you are mandated to do that.
Minute is up. Of course, we're going to judge this by the strength or lack thereof of applause from the audience. So I give you
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, Julia, you have 1 minute, please, on Oxygen Cloud.
All right. So Oxygen is a secure cloud storage solution for businesses. How it works is that it's a universal cloud drive that could be installed across different devices. So we support multiple platforms: Mac, Windows, PC, Linux, mobile applications, iPhone, iPad, and Android. That means everyone in your company or anyone you're working with can have access to the same set of files that you're working on, synchronized to your phone. You can have offline access. You can work no matter where you are. So it's just much more easier. This is the whole point of the cloud. We're trying to empower that efficiency and the ability to access your information. At the same time, we provide total control. When we say it's a secure platform, it's not just a marketing word. We believe in taking a multi-layer security approach to ensure that your company's data is safe. We provide centralized administrative capabilities as well as a cloud storage brokering capability so companies can leverage public, private, and hybrid cloud storage solutions on the back end.
Julia Mack, please, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Now, you can go as high level as you like, Josh. You've got to just enter the spirit. 60 seconds on RightScale.
No accountability, Josh.
No accountability. RightScale is the designer and producer and manufacturer of dark navy blue T-shirts with server counts.
Josh Fraser, ladies and gentlemen.
And a wonderful van. That drives around Tokyo. No, RightScale is the orchestration layer that provides an easy way to deploy and manage and control your cloud-based deployments across private and public clouds. So we're the intersection between the apps you want to run and the cloud resource pools you want to run them on. Key to our methodology is the server template approach. It's very different than dealing with bundled images. It allows you to create definitions of single server or multi-server, multi-tier systems that are uniform across multiple different clouds. So a lot of what RightScale does is abstract away the differences in resource behavior, API syntaxes, so on and so forth, to make it easy to take advantage of more and more of these resource pools that are emerging. We're actually the engine behind a lot of the largest and most talked about cloud deployments in the world. And most recently, the largest hybrid cloud deployment that's been mentioned publicly, which is Zynga's zCloud, in conjunction with our friends over at cloud.com. So we'll help you get started from the various early days all the way up to Zynga level when you can consume and deploy and manage cloud computing resources.
Josh Fraser. Well, Jeff, GoGrid.
GoGrid.
Branding, so you want only 30 seconds, probably?
Yeah, that's all I need. No, infrastructure as a service company. And instead of telling you all the different products and services that we have, it's a bit of a philosophy. We believe that one of our customers, our prospects, everyone we talk to has their own cloud fingerprint. And this is really important from a buyer as you're buying or thinking about it. You've got to figure out what the problem you have. Cloud is not a destination. I could trademark this, but cloud, no. But it's not a destination.
Mission focus.
It's not a destination. It's a way to get to where you want to go. And I think that's really a concept that we embrace at GoGrid. I mean, we're a leading cloud provider, thousands and thousands of customers. Almost every single use case you can think of has been deployed on GoGrid. Our roots are in data centers and dedicated servers, and we created our own technology and our own intellectual property to solve these problems. And that's really important, and that's the way we look at our customers. We want to make sure we have a very customer-centric focus. We don't look at ourselves as a commoditized infrastructure player. We provide management solutions and infrastructure solutions that meet our customers' needs.
Jeff Samuels. Well, the great Peder Ulander gets to finish.
Oh my goodness, Jeremy, you kill me. Okay, so as I mentioned before, cloud.com, we're an open source cloud computing platform that lets anybody with a data center transform that data center into a cloud. That means something for numerous different industries. From a service provider perspective, it's all about opportunity. Opportunity to compete in the game that was driven by GoGrid and Amazon and Network.com back in the day. An opportunity to service your customers in a better, faster, more agile way that they're looking for from a way of consuming IT services. On the enterprise side, cloud.com gives the CIO leverage. The reality is that with the launch of all these public cloud services, end users have come to the realization and expectation that servers and applications need to be able to be deployed in minutes, not weeks. And access to technology enables them to innovate faster and do their jobs better. Yet that becomes a big fear for the CIOs in an organization. What cloud.com enables enterprises to do is to take the agility and the service delivery of the classic public cloud, but enables you to deploy it within a private cloud environment, giving you better control. Are you okay there? Am I going too long? Okay, tick-tock, tick-tock.
So, take a moment to gather yourselves for the winner's speech. The winner is the audience who put up with 5 minutes of shameless prostitution from Peder Ulander, Jeff Samuels, Josh Fraser, Julia Mack, and Bill Roth. Thank you, audience. I'm afraid, roar of thunderous applause, this is the last power panel. Oh. So you'll have to come in November to Cloud Expo in Silicon Valley or come back here next year.
Shameless.
I would wait a year.
Definitely.
Thank you.